Oh, friends, welcome to another episode of Sum It Up, where in less than 30 minutes, Harry and I are bringing community together, having the real and honest conversations, and amplifying the amazing work being done by leaders in our community. And do Harry and I have a powerful episode for you today? We are so excited because we are joined by the one and only Hady Méndez. I mean, we are talking best-selling, award-winning author, a leadership coach, someone who is out there in the community. I think you have more podcast videos out there than anyone I know, Hady. I spent so many hours listening to you because you are just putting your voice out there as a beacon of what is possible when we are Calladita No More. So,
Yes.
Hady, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's so nice to be here with y'all.
Yeah.
Gracias.
And you are joining from Spain, which we were just talking. Harry's joining from Puerto Rico, and I'm here in
Woohoo!
Denver. So this is global community on
Diaspora, we got it.
Wow.
Love it.
All right, Hady, let's jump in because we really want to know more about you, your book, and everything in between. And Harry and I love to start at the beginning because, particularly as Latinos, family, our heritage, our culture, our early years really do serve as a foundation for what we go on to become later in life. So tell us a little bit about young Hady. What was life like? Some key moments maybe that really did serve as foundational for you.
Okay. Well, I guess if I have to start from the beginning, I have to go to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, New York is where I was born and raised. And I'm the youngest of four daughters, born to Puerto Rican parents. So my mom and dad were born in Puerto Rico. My two older sisters were born in Puerto Rico, and then me and my one other sister were born in Brooklyn. And mommy was a pretty strict mom. So her thing was like, go to school, do your homework, stay out of trouble. It was a given that we were all going to college, that we were all going to have what she called a profesión. My mom, I have to say, and I start the book talking about this, and I know we're going to talk about my book today, but I dedicate the book to my mom, and I say my mom never had a credit card, she never had a bank account, she never learned how to drive, but she was not having that for her daughters. She had four daughters, and she was like, y'all are all going to have a college education, a profession. You're all gonna learn how to drive, you're all gonna have bank accounts, you're all gonna have all the things. It was and I talk about this, and I love describing her this way, that she was like a kind of a beautiful contradiction, because she was like, don't do what I did. I'm telling you listen to what I'm telling you, because you're gonna do it the way I'm telling you, but don't watch what I'm doing, because what I'm doing is not what I want for you. And I don't think she ever said it that way, but that's essentially what it amounted to. And so, being the youngest, all my sisters went to school before I did. They were all like, my sister was studying for her CPA. My other sister was an engineer. My other sister was a social worker getting her master's. So like we were, we were a house full of professional women. And I definitely, so when it came my turn, I knew that it was not even a question that, I was going to pursue, a professional degree. And I ended up starting my career as a consultant. So that was like my foray into corporate America. And it was like I would say it was kind of bittersweet. Like it was like an amazing learning ground. And I feel like I met so many smart and intelligent people. And I learned a lot there, but it was also 80-hour work weeks. And like that was crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah. Well, I know Harry will jump in here, but Harry and I, we talk about our moms a lot. Our moms were actually friends and knew each other, but
Oh my
and we
goodness.
didn't know that
There you
until
go.
recent years, until we were already working together. But they were,
Wow.
I think, the influence of your mom is something that definitely resonates with me and with Harry and with many in our audience. And I'm so glad that you share that element of that in the book. But Harry, I'll let you jump in now.
Yeah, from Brooklyn to Puerto Rico. I didn't know you grew
Yes.
up in Brooklyn. So I have a
Yes.
question. I know obviously you talked a lot about your mom and your mom being a major inspiration. So I have a question kind of ties your upbringing to where we are today. And I think about even the last 5 years, from COVID pandemic to social political, all the unrest, everything that we're dealing with. We've all been through these difficult and challenging moments. And when you go through those and you think about your childhood, in addition to your mom, who are the 2 or 3 people that you think about and think about how they might help you, or what advice they may give you to get through tough and challenging times as you think about your past?
Well, I'll say one thing because it comes up in the book too, and it's about refranes. Like so refranes are like sayings for those people who don't speak Spanish and don't know what they are. And it's kind of like the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, like that vibe. But the book has refranes in the start of every chapter, and most of those refranes are refranes that I learned from my mother. So those refranes guide me in life, like broadly speaking. And then, there were refranes that I think came in handy at work, that came in handy as I was like doubting myself and things like that. So I feel like those refranes, definitely my mother, I feel my mother's presence whenever I say, dime con quién anda y te diré quién eres. Like that was like her favorite thing. She was like guilting us, and like, basically that means like, I don't approve of your friend. So like your friend ain't it. Like you got to lose her, shake her off, because that's not going to be your friend. Like that person isn't worthy of being your friend, essentially. And they might be like a bad influence on you. And my mother, like, she said that a lot. So that was a big one. But the other story, a specific story that I share in the book that reminds me of like the moment, is the one about my sister. And it's the one about where there was, I don't remember like the details, and I googled it enough that I tried to find out like what was happening at that time, but I just couldn't like get a name. But there was some unrest in our neighborhood in Brooklyn, and it was between black and white. So it was like the cops, and there was like the equivalent of what would be a Black Lives Matter protests going on in the street. And I remember it, and it was like against police. It has something to do with police. And I remember like us walking by, my mother being like, I was like, hey, what's happening? My mother's like, mind your business, like keep walking, kind of thing. But like I was still curious because it was like happening over time. And so eventually I asked one of my older sisters kind of like, what was it about? And I think the pivotal moment, and I'll kind of cut to the chase so I don't make the story too long, is that I asked her about like, if there was a war between black and white people. I was very young, mind you. I was like about 10. I was like, if there was a lot of disagreements. So I was like, what happens if there's a war? I guess that's where a 10-year-old mind goes. And I'm like, if there's a war between black and white people, like what side are we on? And like, that was, to me, like even today, that's such an important question, because it's like, I think my Latino experience, or my Latinx experience, is such that like we're forgotten about. We're like we're invisible. Like people don't talk about us a lot or enough. And it's usually like, the United States is like a black and white, kind of like tension between black and white people. I'm like, yeah, but like we're kind of in it too. And like, where do we fit in? And I feel like that was such an important question that I was asking at that time, that I didn't know, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people still wrestle with. Like it's not like a 1970 thing. It's even a year 2026 thing. And in any case, her answer was very important, and it gave me a lot of clarity. And she's like, I think we would be on the black people side because we share a lot of the same struggles. And if I was 10, she was 17, so we were very young. But that was her like analysis, her thoughtful analysis on the situation. And I feel like that informs like me doing DEI work, and me being aligned with other, underestimated people, and like a very deep, profound respect and admiration of Black women, generally, as well. So I feel like that little exchange, which was, kind of a moment in time, and it's really interesting because the sister that I had the conversation with, she passed, so she's no longer alive, but her children are alive. And I like, when I gave them the book, I'm like, I want you to read the story of your mom, like how important, like that conversation we had, and how important it was, and how much it shaped me and my point of view as it relates to like us as the Latinx community, and us in the broader context of race relationships, and everything really.
Yeah. Hady, I mean, it was almost like you were eavesdropping on many of our conversations that Harry and I were having this week.
Oh, so tell me.
No, and I think it comes back to finding our voice, and not being silent, and not being afraid to talk about the uncomfortable tension that exists in some of these historic, tensions between communities. And, Harry and I, we wrestle all the time with how do we bring communities together, and how do we, really create this platform to show that we have so many things in common, and that our fights are collective, our successes are collective, and our economic power is collective, all of these things. When I was reading the book and I read your story about your sister, it was the first thing I thought of was, she put this in the book because she now has a platform to share this story and hopefully inspire others to think different. And she's found her voice, and you made a career out of DE&I because I felt that in the book, and your sister's influence and your own experience really led you to a career to say, we rise together. Together we rise. That's something that we believe here. And I really want to dig in a little bit about the book now and getting to that, though, because to unpack these tough issues, to be in every room, we have to have a voice. We have to talk about things. We have to feel safe to do so. And I think there's big questions in our community about safety and talking right now. Talk to Harry and all of us a little bit about how you found your voice, and why you decided to write a book about it, and what that experience was like for you.
Yeah, before I go into it though, I do want to share something about you mentioned safety, and I think safety is important. So like, even though we have a voice, we get to choose when to use it. Like we're not obligated to use it at every point in time, in every space and place, because sometimes, like you said, it is not safe.
Oh.
Safety though is different from being afraid or being fearful. And I think I just wanted to like kind of tease that out, because for everyone's benefit, I still get afraid to say things sometimes. And so just if you're nervous or, I don't know, you just feel nervous about it, that's different than something being unsafe. So I just wanted to share that, because I still oftentimes I know, like sometimes I know I'm gonna go into a room and like throw a bomba. And I'm like, I can't sleep the night before because I know like it's going down tomorrow. And I'm like, but I'm committed. I'm committed to it. Sometimes I'm representing not only myself, oftentimes I'm representing communities, maybe not even just the Latinx community. Maybe it's a lot of communities. When I was the head of equality, I was representing 7 ERGs, and I took that job seriously because they were counting on me. They believed, they had faith that I was representing them. So I needed to go into those rooms and be brave. So yeah, I would say that, I can't point to like one time where like, like everything clicked and it was like, okay, now I'm a different person. I would say that I think I noticed other people having success when they used their voice. And sometimes those people were like me. So, I took it for granted that okay, a white guy is going to like say whatever they want to say in a meeting and like no sweat off their back. But if I notice maybe a Black woman or a brown man or somebody that looked like me or that was, closer to me, and they did it, I was like, oh, wow. Oh, snap. Wow. Like they said that. I was thinking that and they said it. Like, how cool is that? And I was like, that gave me a little bit of like courage to be like, oh, well, maybe next time I could be the one to say something. You know what I mean? So a lot of it was just seeing other people do it. And that's why I feel it's so important for me to do it. Cause I'm like, maybe somebody's watching me and saying like, oh, snap. Like now look what she said. Maybe I can be a little brave. So I do feel like it was other people that modeled it for me. And I would even say from a content perspective, it was the same thing. I saw like lots of Black women that I admired and appreciated, and other people that I respected, and they were saying, like they said what they said. And I was like, oh, wow, I think I'm going to say what I want to say too, because I happen to agree with them. Or maybe like I have a different perspective to offer. And then I feel like, sometimes you get rewarded for that, and people are like, oh, snap, I loved your post, or like, that was, really cool. I like your content. So you get the positive feedback. That's great. You don't owe it. That doesn't always happen though. I just want to also be mindful that sometimes you might get your hand slapped for doing that. And I definitely got my hand slapped many times for speaking out. And sometimes I would retrieve and be like, oh, I guess I'm not going to say it anymore because it's not okay when I say it. I notice other people can say it, but when I say it, it's not okay. So then I would kind of go back but then like over time, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to say it. I don't really have that much to lose. And I think the more senior I got in my roles and the, just older age wise, like it was just like, well, I don't really care what other people think. And I don't care if other people like me. And I don't care if I rubbed you the wrong way. Like, like I cared less about that people pleasing and like everybody liking me part, being so likable. And instead I was more concerned with doing the right thing and using my platform for good. So I had to, that is what ultimately ended up happening.
And how, what I have to ask you, Hady, off of that about being brave, having a voice, and I'm pretty sure when I say this, but correct me if I'm wrong, that there's been many times you're the only one in the room, only woman in the room, only Latina in the room. And I'm out the room where decisions are being made, where there's people with influence and power. How did you over your career learn and get better at navigating that? You talked about picking and choosing, winning, when she's saying when you're the only one in there, and Joel talk about this all the time, talk about being that only one in the room. That is tough. I mean, you have the double whammy. You got the gender, you got the race, you got everything there.
Yeah.
How do you kind of navigate that? And then were there moments where you got more comfortable and you said, finally, you said, I'll say what I want to say, and it may be, but it seems to me that's probably a journey and a progression that you make.
Yeah. I would say that it's true that I was oftentimes the only in the room. And lots of times I played it safe. So I was saying the early part of my career, if people knew me in my first 10 to 15 years out of school, they probably saw the safe Hady who didn't really ruffle any feathers. I might talk some smack behind, closed doors or whatever with my friends, but I was, just kind of neutral in these spaces because I think I had this cultural script too, that I had to respect the people in the room. And it's like, they're older, they're more senior, I have to respect them. So there was a little bit of that was holding me back. And then I will say that eventually some of the kind of like the transition point was like, I would notice that people were saying things and they weren't even right. But like, they were just, people felt very comfortable just being like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't actually think that's true. And I noticed that people, they didn't have any fear or any hesitation to just say whatever they wanted to say, whether it was true or not. And I'm not saying they were lying, but more like they weren't sure. Whereas for me, I needed to be like 1,000% sure before I said anything. Cause I was like, I'm not going to say something wrong because they're going to come for me in a hurry. So it's that double tax. Like you got to do your work and then you got to like protect yourself at all costs because you're representing the whole race. And, like every person, every Latina in the world when you open your mouth. So yeah. I do feel like that I hesitated because I wanted to be 100% right before I said anything. Yeah. And then eventually I was like, yeah, no, if I'm 90% confident, I'm going to say it, and if I'm not sure, then I'll ask the question. So like I kind of felt like I want to be part of the conversation. If I don't have something to contribute, then I'll question something. Then I'll like push back on something. Then I'll say, hey, I don't know if we considered this thing, but like I started to get really confident in my abilities. And especially because I was having a lot of success. Like when I was customer facing, I had a lot of success and, people, my customers loved me. I was like making great money. The managers were like, give that client to Hady, like I was demonstrating that even as a Latina woman, I could still be very effective at what I was doing. I happened to be good at sales and customer relationships. And so once, I got my footing and I was like, well, I am all that and a bag of dipsy doodles. Then I was like, now I'm gonna start acting like it. And like people, yeah, I owned it. I was like, once I realized, I was like, not for nothing, but I am actually good at what I do. Then I'm going to act like I'm good at what I do. And I think some of that, for me, it was a journey of being like realizing that I was worthy and that I deserved good things too. And that I had something to offer and bring to the table and then act like it, so, but it's a journey.
I want to amplify. So this is why I love her book. And if you don't have it, you need to go get get it, because you touched on things that I think are really important for us. If we're going to unlock our potential, find our voice, and find our agency, which is something that I know you and I both go out on keynotes talking about. But here's the reality, that we have external factors, right? Bosses. You talk about the bad boss who didn't see you, didn't value you, kind of sidelined you. You talked about the good boss and the good manager at the end of the book, who really modeled for you what leadership should look like. But you are also unpacking these cultural scripts, and I want to call them out, because we sometimes focus only on those external factors, the bad boss, the good boss. Those things matter, the right environment, the supportive team. But these cultural scripts, one of gratitude, and you talked about your mom. Your mom had all of this influence for good. You're going to go, you're going to be successful, but yet you can't go abroad. You can't go do these other things. And one thing I talk about a lot is my great grandmother, who's like, Mija, be grateful. Don't go, you already got it good. Just be grateful for what you have. And some of these scripts and traditions, and one of gratitude, that can, erode maybe some of our ambition, and sometimes one of humility, which could maybe erode our confidence. And we want all of it. We want humility and confidence. We want gratitude and ambition. So how did you do it, Hady? How did you, kind of looking at all of those cultural scripts and message, how did you kind of make it work for you? How do you reconcile those things?
I think a lot of it was understanding what I needed. So I think a lot of my early career journey was like making sure that my mom was happy and proud of me. Like that was so important to me. It really was. Like I just wanted mommy to feel like, she did a good job raising me and could be proud of me. And not that that became any less important later on, but I had to balance her being proud of me with me being happy. And I talk about that we deserve, we deserve to be happy too. We deserve to live the life that we want for ourselves, and, kind of fills us and makes our heart sing, and that's different for everybody. And, my mother saw me, I give her credit for picking tech as my career. She's like, pick computers. And I was like, okay, mommy. And I went into the tech field, and little did I know, and little did she know what we were getting ourselves into. But, like 20 years later, I was still in it. So, I really respect the wisdom that I received from my parents. No doubt it made me, it shaped who I am today. And at the same time, I think my mother, she taught us, my sisters and I, to be like, a mí no me importa, yo hago lo que me da la gana. She taught us to be, I guess that's the outcome of you raising an independent minded woman who's gonna like get it done and go after what she wants and achieve her goals. If you give us that kind of mindset that like you can do anything and you can go after what you want and you deserve it and find the things that you like and be really good at them, then it follows that then we're gonna also want to do the things that we love, that make our hearts sing, that really we're passionate about. And I always had that soft spot for people, like for wanting to help people. Like when I was like little, like fifth grade, I was like, I want to be a social worker. Like I used to run around saying that. And I kind of got a little bit of my dream fulfilled when I went to Bolivia and worked with incarcerated women. And I ran a support group in the jail. And like, I was kind of doing the social work, living that social work life a little bit. And even as a community school director at a school for a couple of years in the Bronx. So I kind of always knew what I wanted, but I did like the good daughter thing. And then I was like, F it, I'm going to go and do what I want to do. And, I don't, like going on mission. I went to mission after my mom died, like FYI. So like, I don't know if I would have done it if she was still alive. Because,
I didn't think I realized that. I
yes, my mother had.
Look, I thought you were being the rebellious daughter.
No, I didn't go until after my mom died. Like after she died, I was like, okay, now I'm gonna do this stuff. But I think I could have convinced her. Like that, I did make some like for example, one of the things that I did is I lived in college, which was like a big step because I was the fourth daughter and no one up to that point had done it. And I was like, I'm going to live on campus. Like, I want to live on campus. And my mother's like, allá tú. you figure out how to pay for it. Don't, that's, my name is
Right.
Paul. That's between y'all, you and the bank. But I figured it out. And then like when I would go home, she would have like little treats for me. So she would have like, I don't know, like maybe cookies for me and my roommates, or like pistachios, which I loved, or like little treats and stuff. And so I used to go home every weekend and make her wash my clothes, and then she would have treats for me. So it ended up being like a good deal. Like she got to still see me a lot, but I got to live on campus and, you know, be a little like rebelde. Yeah, a little rebellious. Not too much though, but a little bit.
That's incredible. So I have to, I have to ask you how about your book. And back to the book, and I haven't read the full book, so I'm disclosure, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm going to get
Okay.
there. But in thinking about the journey of the book, I have a two-part question. One is, what was the what part of the book, or what story was the hardest to write? And kind of the flip side of that, and part two of that question is, you know, we meet incredible people like yourself all the time, and sometimes say, you should write a book. Your experience is incredible. Can you talk about just the process behind what it
Yes.
takes to write a book? And so kind of
Yes.
two parts of a Rubik's Cube switching around, but all related to your book.
Okay. So I think probably hardest was it was it was the story that I opened the book with. And it's the when I was a consultant, and so the security guard confused me for being the cleaning lady, and how that made me feel. And that was something that happened like, I don't know, over 30 years ago. And I still remember it very clearly. So I know that it kind of like, it made me feel some type of way. My colleagues were there, and, you know, they kind of laughed at it because they thought it was funny. And, you know, like from the I don't think they were trying to be mean, but like it was a really like hurtful thing, you know, in that moment for me as someone who had just graduated from college and really wanted to like, or I don't know, earn the respect of her colleagues to be, you know, treated that way. I kind of felt really bad. And at the same time, I make sure that I kind of footnote that like there's no shame in being a cleaning lady or a secretary. You know, these are honorable jobs, and these are jobs that, you know, many of us have relatives that do this work. And so it's no shade on that. But for me, as someone who had just graduated from college and was really excited to be a professional, and kind of, by the way, really had a ton of imposter syndrome at that time. So when he said that to me, it kind of just like poked the bear a little bit for me, you know. But anyway, so that was hard to write, because but I knew I had to write it because I knew so many people that happened to. So many people before that told me it happened to them, and so many people after told me as well. So it's a common experience that I wanted to, you know, tap into. In terms of like writing the book broadly, I worked with a book coach, and I would say that really made a big difference for me. I knew what I wanted to write about, but I had no idea like where to start or how to start. And, you know, I would imagine that most people, that's the same thing. Like, how do you start writing a book? Like, how do you, you know, even know where to begin? And so it was a 6-month coaching process, like a group coaching. And like for the first like month and a half, 2 months, we didn't even write. It was just like ideation and like, what do you want to write about? What are you good at? What does the world need to hear? What is the world like? What do people know you for? So it was a lot of like reflection on the message. How does it tie back to like your broader like vision or mission, you know, in the work that you do and stuff like that. So I think that really helped to build a very good foundation. And once I had that done, I wrote the book pretty quickly. So I would highly recommend, if anyone is like an aspiring writer, that if they can work with a coach, it's expensive, but it's to me, it was very well worth it, because it gave me a very good foundation to work from. And then after that, just so you know, and you know, maybe you do, but like writing the book, as it turns out, is only like a ching ching part of it, because the rest of it is like, you got to get the book into the world, and the publishers and the editors and the illustrator and the marketers and the media manager and the PR, and you know, and it's like, and that continues for some time. So you, by the way, if you're going to write a book, you better love what you write about, because you're going to be talking about it for a long time. That's what I learned. I was like, actually joke about this because I have a LinkedIn Live called Authors Unplugged. And I forget who the author was the other day, but we were joking about it because we were like, girl, you better love that book, because you're going to be eating, dreaming, sleeping, talking about that book in forever, in perpetuity. So Anyway,
Well,
good thing I love my book. So
well, I'm absolutely gonna finish your book, and
okay.
I didn't know what moment you were gonna point to when you started about that first story, and I can tell you that part I have read, and I had to stop. And it's interesting. You said how many people got impacted, and I can tell you the reason it impacted me so much. When I was I finished law school, went to the law firm for my first day of training. They had training for the new lawyers and training for administrative staff. And like you said, all jobs honorable, and you know where they sent me. I literally had to put your book down to show you how impactful that story was. And so for you to say it hits everyone, sadly, wish it wasn't the case, but what a powerful way to open.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Harry.
We're gonna wrap up today's conversation.
No!
We're just starting.
I know, but that's the whole reason we did sum it up and like a short little thing. We can bring you back.
We gotta call it long it up. Drag it out.
We got more to say. We just Calladita No More. But here is what I want to talk about, because this is about your life's work now. You didn't just write a book. You're on a mission. And you know, that first section was hard for all of us to read because we all had that Me Too movement in the workplace. But I got to be real with you, friend, amiga, that the hardest thing for me to read was when you talked about, you know, you were looking for a job, you were trying to find yourself, you were trying to partner with other Latinas and Latinos, you were trying to build community, and sometimes the community shut you down. Mm-hmm. And the reason that we created Summit Up, the reason it's called Summit, is because we believe in cumbre, that we rise together, we rise. And when we come together, we can do great things. I had a really hard time. I actually stopped, picked it up, reread that again when you were talking about, you were just reaching out and you were just trying to call your fellow community members to build community, to build support, to get help, to help them. And some shut the door on you. But yet you didn't let that stop you. You have created an entire movement now to helping other Latinas and women of color. You are building bridges through your shows, through your work. And I just want to end with that. You know, I want to end with why it's so important to amplify, to support one another. And I want you to kind of have the last words on why you were not discouraged. You kept going, and give us some hope in building community and rising together.
Yes. So there's a refrán that goes along with that whole story, which is Santo que no me quiere con no rezarle basta, which, girl, I live by that. So we know we're not for everyone, and that's okay. That's, you know, you have to like accept that not everyone's going to like you and not everyone's going to want to work with you. And I think if I can accept that and then move beyond that and say, well, then I'll find my people. You know, those were not my people if they didn't want to work with me. So I'm going to find the people that are aligned with me, that share my vision, that share my values, that want to see other, you know, Latinas and other women rise. And, you know, I would say that I found a lot of community over the last few years. That has been the biggest part of the last few years, is the communities _ plural that I've been part of. And, you know, and I know that it's a two-way street. And I talk about that too. Hoy por ti, mañana por mí. So I'm going to do for you, and then it'll be my turn at some point, and we're going to do for each other. And we're just going to continue that cycle of lifting each other up. And I feel like that is like so in me right now that, you know, I don't know. Yeah. Like I believe that so deeply that that is what allows me to overlook and not be, you know, brought down by the naysayers or the people that don't want to work with me. It's like, it's okay. I understand. I'm gonna go find my people. And my people I have found, and they, you know, we have built together. We've done, you know, Leading Latinas is the community that I'm most tied to. I've been serving as director of programs for a little over a year now. And the things that we've done and the people that we've impacted, and, you know, the number of people and the, you know, just the different ways that we've shown up to honor first gen people's experiences, or, you know, provide healing circles for people that are, you know, going through a difficult time, or just learning, growing, you know, partnering together. Like, you know, that is the stuff that lights me up. And that's the stuff that I choose to focus on. And that's the place that I want to be.
I love it.
So that's where you'll find me.
Yay! So speaking of finding Hady, you can definitely download her book, Calladita No More, Boldly Speaking. She is out there speaking on the speaking tour, Lean In Latinas. And really, you just go to YouTube, put in her name, and you have plenty of videos. You can see Hady doing her amazing work. Hady, my friend, it has been an honor and not nearly enough time with you today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was going to say, I did like over 30 podcasts when the book came out. So I'm in a lot of places right now.
You are. But this place is what's brought me so much joy and hope today. And, on behalf of the Summit Up community, thank you so much for all your comments. Trust me, I am reading them as they are coming in.
Yes.
Hady, you have definitely connected with this community today. So I'm guessing we're going to have to bring you back on. We get to bring you back on because we got a lot more.
I got questions I didn't get to.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, we got to Harry's got to finish reading the book.
And we got to talk about what's next and how we're going to, collaborate and get together and do more together. But
I would love that.
Really to sum it up, I just leave today with so much gratitude and so much pride in you and what you're accomplishing, and hope that we can find a way to work together in the future.
Amen.
All right.
Everybody watch Bad Bunny on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Go. Benito Bowl. All right, everyone. Be well until next time. Take care.
Take care. Bye.